The Colts are playing on Sunday Night Football versus the Dallas Cowboys, and they're not going into this game like we expected them to in the beginning of the season or even before the season. We expected this team to be a very well balanced, good football team. It has been quite the opposite. They're a one dimensional football team. They have a very good defense. Offense, on the other hand, is one of the worst we have ever seen in Colts history, if not the worst. It's just not an ideal matchup for this Colts team. I think everyone could agree that we are starting to look at draft position and, the teams that we are facing. Do we really have a shot to win any of these games? Yeah, it's the NFL. There's a chance for everything, but you look at it realistically, the Colts have to play the Cowboys this week. They have to play the Vikings. They have to play the Chargers. They have to play the Giants. You play the Texans. Maybe you beat the Texans. I don't see us beating any other team. Now, do I think the Vikings are as good as their record says they are? Absolutely not. I think the Cowboys kind of showed that a few weeks ago. The Vikings, and they almost lost to the Patriots. The Vikings, the way they were winning for a while, kind of not really a way to sustain success in the NFL. But, nonetheless, all these matchups are going to be difficult. Could we even beat the Texans? Are we going to lose to the Texans? It's a real possibility. That's how bad this team is. That is how bad this Colts offense is. Feel bad for the defense. The defense has played their hearts out, game in, game out, 60 freaking minutes every week, and this offense comes to lay a goose egg every week. Not literally, but they just have sucked. Sucked to the point where, yeah, you're not doing anything. At this point, it's time to start looking at draft position. I'm not saying tanking. I think tanking is one of the most disrespectful terms in football or in sports. It's just not something that you do. It's not a thing. People think it's a thing. It is not a thing. Teams don't. Yeah, when they trade players away, they're accepting they're not going to be as good. But tanking means you're not going to try. No, that is so BS. Maybe in the GM's mind they're like, oh, maybe we're not going to win a lot of games, but they don't have the intent of going into games losing. That is tanking. Taking is BS. It's a coward's way of getting out of a bad season and trying to make the next season better. So, let's start talking about this matchup. That's enough for, of a little rant in the beginning there. But we have, it's going to be a long game tomorrow night. I was hoping a Sunday night game. We finally got a Sunday night game. I don't think we got one last year. And, no, we did the San Fran. But we got a Sunday night game. We don't get many primetime games. This year we got quite a few, but this game not looking promising at all, especially some injuries. So you look at the Colts side of things, they have Braden Smith out, and he's on the right side, and that's where Micah Parsons likes to line up. So if you have Matt Pryor over there, yeah, good luck. I don't even want to think about it. I'm not going to keep talking about it. You have Colts cornerback Kenny Moore. Very good slot corner. May not have been the best in coverage this year. He has not been very good in coverage this year, but he makes big plays. He's aggressive. He likes to try and jump for things. He has that little nickel corner blitz in his back pocket, so that takes away that. Um, it just sucks to see him having this ankle problem, but at the end of the day, where is this Colts team going to go anyways? But with him, as we've seen the whole season, I mean, it's definitely going to hurt the defense. He is one of the best players in that defense. Even though he has some issues, but nonetheless he's one of the best players in that defense, and the defense is going to definitely take a hit. So moving on, Colts tight end Jelani Woods questionable with the shoulder and quad. Shoulder is not the question. Last week he played with that shoulder. He's still recovering. When he fell on it, it was versus the I think it was the Raiders. The Raiders or the Patriots. I think it was the Patriots. He landed on that shoulder, and then he was out. Maybe it was Raiders, and then he was out for. I don't know, but nonetheless, the shoulder's not the issue. Quad, a little bit of a question. Nonetheless, if he plays or not, what's the big difference it's gonna make? In the passing game, it's gonna be a big, difficult game, no matter who is in. No matter who is in, no matter who's out, it's gonna probably be a long game. Then questionable, you have Isaiah Rodgers is questionable as well. That sucks because Isaiah Rodgers is the number 3 corner ranked in PFF for coverage. Yeah, he's been that good, even though he's played half the snaps as those guys. It shows that he is very effective when he's out there. Yet Gus Bradley and they keep on trotting out Brandon Faison, who has not played well. He's one of the worst cornerbacks in coverage rated by PFF. He's not even good at tackling. Isaiah Rodgers is good at both of those. Isaiah Rodgers needs to be out there on the field more, and considering that he's going to be hurt now, with the knee is a little bit questionable. Don't force it. Don't force it. You don't play him much anyway, so there's no point. Um, so then for the Cowboys here, the two big ones right off the rip, right? You have Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs with this illness. A lot of players have had this illness, and went through the Colts locker room. I kind of have a feeling it's from, it's the C19. It's They're just not listing as that. It's just not, it doesn't really concern anyone anymore. So it's not really worth listing as that, just as a general illness. It could be what it is. It could be the flu. Could be, a bad cold. But if it was bad cold, that'd be no issue playing. But questionable. I think he'll play. When a big star is questionable like this, they find a way to get on that field and play. Will he be at 100%? I don't know. Questionable. Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup with an illness as well. Same situation with him. I expect him to play. He's been very good lately. But there's definitely a good possibility that neither of them play, or one of the two don't play. I think that's more probable there. But then you have Cowboys linebacker Anthony Barr. He's questionable. Uh, Jaron Kurt, Jaron Kearse. He is questionable. He is a safety. You have Quinton Boana. He is questionable. He's their defensive tackle. So some pretty notable injuries there. Braden Smith and Kenny Moore both out. And then you have, Isaiah Rodgers being questionable. That's big. Jelani Woods questionable. That's big. So all four players for the Colts that are listed here are big-time players. 2 out of the 4 will not play. 2 out of the 4 are questionable. So we'll see. Then Trayvon Diggs, questionable, and Michael Gallup, the two really worth noting, even though Anthony Barr has been on and off. He's been a decent linebacker for them. But those two guys I just mentioned, Diggs and Gallup, are really worth noting in the injury category. So moving on to the game itself. This Colts offensive line is going to have to find a way. If this team wants any chance at all, this Colts offensive line is going to have to come to play. The Cowboys are the number 23rd ranked run defense, allowing 131 and some per game. Looked better last week versus the Giants, but the Giants had 80% of the offensive line out? Yeah. But Micah Parsons, he's going to cause the most problems, especially without Braden Smith. Other guys, DeMarcus Lawrence has shown up. Having a guy like Micah Parsons on the other side helping him definitely helps. The inside is not too scary. Not too scared of the Cowboys' interior. So if this Colts interior offensive line and, Matt Pryor and they put a tight end over there, just try to chip him maybe, Micah Parsons, maybe you can find a way to get the run game going. But at the end of the day, Matt Ryan is not going to be able to win this game. And you're probably going to need Matt Ryan to win this game because, with Kenny Moore being out, that's a big loss, especially with CeeDee Lamb, the way he's playing. CeeDee Lamb's going to be on the outside, inside. He could play anywhere. Gilmore is fine. He's not in spectacular, but he's been fine. Brandon Faison is not good, but as you've seen, Isaiah Rodgers is questionable, and he has a knee, so he's not even going to be 100% if he plays. Even when he is healthy, he doesn't play much, so it doesn't really matter. But back to the Colts offense line, they need to find a way. Jeff Saturday needs to help Braden Smith's replacement and Matt Pryor. That's probably who the guy is going to be over there. Whoever it is, it's going to be a long game for that guy. He's going to be playing Micah Parsons. That's not an easy task. Andrew Thomas did pretty good last week, but we don't have anyone near the caliber of Andrew Thomas to play on either side, really. But key is, you've seen what the Eagles did when they played them. You kind of don't want to block him. You want to make him make difficult choices, with those choices being pick your poison choices. He picks one, you go the other way. He picks this one, you go that way. Thing is, you don't have a guy like Jalen Hurts to do that. You don't have Sam Ehlinger could run a little bit, but he's no Jalen Hurts athletically. So you don't really have the option to do that, really. So you're going to have to try and see if you get some trickery going on, maybe some counters, maybe some crazy stuff. But if you want any chance, you have to come out and score a touchdown like you did last week. Or no, yeah, you have to come. No, you didn't. It was against the Eagles. You have to come out and you have to score a touchdown like you did versus the Eagles. Arguably the Eagles have a better record, but I think the Dallas Cowboys are right there with them for how good of football teams they are. It's gonna, and then the wide receivers, they're gonna have some difficult matchups. The Cowboys cornerbacks have been solid. That Cowboys pass offense. The Cowboys defense in general is ranked number 2 in yards allowed and stuff like that. Points per allowed. I think they're number 2. But nonetheless, this Cowboys pass defense in general is phenomenal. Micah Parsons is the engine. Micah Parsons, it starts with him and getting the pressure, making the mistake, trying to throw it quick, and Trayvon Diggs takes it for 6. But if Trayvon Diggs doesn't play, that's huge. But you have to predict this game like he is, because if you practice and predict the game off of their best players, and you have the best chance of predicting it right, even if they're out right. So, especially in this game, but Michael Pittman has to step up. It's going to be a long game with Michael Pittman Jr. He has not been very good. Yeah, Pittman could have been back last week, but Matt Ryan was a little pissed at him. At the end of the day, this game is way too fast for Matt Ryan at this point. And, playing this Cowboys pass defense, it took Matt Ryan forever to complete a pass last game. And now you have to go against the Dallas Cowboys defense. Now, it's not like the Pittsburgh defense is any slouch, no. But the Dallas Cowboys defense is on a whole nother level. So Matt Ryan's going to have a rough day, but it doesn't matter who you put out there. Sam Ellinger, Nick Foles, Matt Ryan. It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same result every week. Outside, Paris Campbell, I've been impressed with Paris Campbell. I think they need to find a way to get him the ball more, get the ball out quick to him. But you also need to help whoever's going to be on that right side with Micah Parsons. Dear goodness, you're going to need to help him. With the tight end or running back chip, stuff like that. Otherwise, Micah Parsons is going to single-handedly put this game away by himself on the defense. It'll be like, snap the ball, he's there, down, sack. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys got 6+ sacks this game. That would not surprise me one bit. Wouldn't. So, if the Colts can get the run game going, if that Colts offensive line can run block well, the Colts may have a chance on offense to put up some points. But, middle of the game, if the Cowboys start picking the pace up, it's going to be very difficult to keep on running the ball at a high rate. Your guys are going to get tired, and, that's another thing. You're going up against, on the other side, on the defensive side of the ball, you're going up against 2 very talented running backs. And they can just make that defense tired again. They can just tire that defense out. That Pittsburgh offense was on the field for a long time on Monday night. And yeah, don't forget, it's a short week too, and this is going to be a physical game. So it's just not ideal, Whether they played Sunday or not, it still wasn't going to be, if they had that full 7 days. Would it really make that big of a difference? Honestly, ask yourself. If the Colts had 1 extra day, would that make a difference? And if you're a championship team, if you're if you're a very good team, it doesn't matter. You get up and you get ready. But the Colts, no matter what, 7 days, 6 days, it doesn't matter how much time they have. They're not going to improve. Nothing's going to get better this season. It's time to get rid of Matt Ryan. The game is too fast for him. And, before he even looks up, the Cowboys defense is going to be in his face. So that's kind of it for the offense. The offensive line just needs to figure it out. If the offensive line could play okay, that's a big if. Maybe the offense can put some points up. But Matt Ryan's an issue too because the game moves too fast. Horrible first two throws. Throws an interception the first play. Like, what are you thinking? Pittman has to come back to it, but that wasn't a good throw from Matt Ryan at all. At all. So, Paris Campbell is probably gonna have to come up big. I'm interested to see how Alec Pierce is gonna do this game. He's gonna have to play well. Jeff Saturday too. I think, I like Jeff Saturday's attitude. I love his attitude. Love what he stands for. As a head coach, I don't know if he has it. I was excited 2 weeks ago, getting pumped up, after the hire. I'm like, okay, I like the attitude. Now let's see what he does on the field. He hasn't been very good on the field. Play calling, you still got to step in with Parks Frazier and say run the ball more. You still got to step in and call a timeout when you have 2 left. It's proving to be, when you're up in a booth, when you're up on a TV show, you have time to process. When you're done with the show, you have time to go on research, just like after the game. But during the show, you have everything written out and done, and you know what's going to happen. Most of it is scripted, okay? NFL games, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So having 40 seconds instead of a few hours to write a script, a few hours to do some research, having 40 seconds to make a decision is proving to be too much for Jeff Saturday. Maybe he will get better with it over time. That's something that a lot of head coaches struggle with to start. It's a very common thing to struggle with when you're first becoming a head coach. There's a lot of things going through your mind. Timeouts, when you have 2 left and there's not a lot of time left, call those timeouts. And, he was someone that always got the teams and the coaches about not calling the timeouts and poor game management. And he just had the same thing. I'm calling it how I see it. It's the truth of how that happened. So let's move on to this Dallas team. Let's move on to the Dallas side. So Dallas has a pretty damn good offense. When Dak Prescott came back, there's a huge difference. You can notice the difference right off the bat. Cooper Rush was a decent game manager. He had a good offensive line. He had decent weapons, good running backs, nice tight ends, and, he had a good situation. Dak Prescott comes back, you see the difference. You go from okay game manager to low-end game changer. No, medium-end game changer. He's not high-end, but he's very good. He's very good at what he does. He likes his tight ends, and the Colts struggle against tight ends. That's going to be a big one. Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson, those 2 guys, the Colts are going to have to figure out how to block them, and then you're going to have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. There's just a buttload of weapons that the Colts generally struggle against. They have not done very good against, you go back to that Denver game, you go back to a few games, you could see where Stephon Gilmore is kind of built up by the quarterback. This game, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen with Dak Prescott. He's a very good quarterback. He makes mistakes here and there, but and it's more than you should at sometimes, but that's what happens when you're aggressive. And, if Stephon Gilmore's a step or 2 behind CeeDee Lamb, it's over. That's a catch for CeeDee Lamb. It's a first down or a touchdown, however long he goes. Michael Gallup, on the other hand, you're going to have Brandon Faison on that side. Whoever you have, on Gallup or Lamb, Brandon Faison is going to have to play one of those 2. Just telling you that right now. Especially if Isaiah Rodgers is out. And then who's going to play that slot corner position? Yeah. I don't even know. I can't even answer that for you. But having Kenny Moore out hurts because he has a big presence on that defense. You have to look for Kenny Moore on that defense before you call your play. Because he will make you pay if you don't look for him. He has not been great in coverage. He's capable of making huge plays. And, having these good cornerbacks, they're these decent cornerbacks. If Isaiah Rodgers was playing, I'd be much more confident. Because Kwity Paye is back this week. Kwity Paye is back this week. That means his run defense is going to be back to one of the better ones. Now, will it? It could be. It could come back to one of the better ones. I don't know if it will. Just because of, how tired this defense has to be of dealing with this offense. This defense has to be so worn out, it's not even funny. Imagine going out there, getting a turnover, getting your team to the opponent's 45-yard line and doing nothing with it. Yeah, and that has happened all season. Whether they got a turnover or a fumble, they got the team, they got the opposing offense to punt within their 5. The offense just screws it up every time. So it really takes a mental toll on the defense. If we do this, is it really going to make a difference? That's an honest mental mistakes that can happen. That's the honest that That's how this offense could get to the defense mentally. You know, yeah, you know, I used to be someone who says defense wins championships, and they do in a way. You know, the edge rushers, having good edge rushers, that's what helps seal the game. Good cornerbacks help seal it. Maybe good defensive tackles to stop them on 4th and 1. There's a lot of different scenarios on where defense can win games. But if you can't score points, none of it matters. You have to be able to score points on offense. You have to be able to score points. Your defense, you can't count your defense to go and score a defensive touchdown when you need a touchdown the most. Which right now, that's how it's been all season for the Colts. You would think the defense has a better chance than the offense. And that's sad. Very sad. So, Dallas having CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, 2 very good running backs, and very good offensive line, good tight ends. That offense is so complete. So complete. I think this Colts defense is going to struggle, especially without Kenny Moore. They're going to have a hard time against the tight ends, as they always do. Zaire Franklin has been on and off. Bobby O has been pretty good. Yannick Ngakoue has been awesome. But the Cowboys' offense line is decent. We're going to have Kwity Payback, see how he does against the run game. You have to limit Tony Pollard because he is explosive. The Colts really struggle against running backs that come on the backfield. And, like flats or even like screens. You bet that CeeDee Lamb is gonna get some screen time, is gonna get some screen throws, screen plays. You bet that Tony Pollard is gonna get some screen plays or just some short plays. The Colts struggle against those and the little stick routes. CeeDee Lamb will kill you on those little stick routes versus cover 3. Will kill you. And then Gallup could just beat you deep. If Brandon Facyon's on here, if Brandon Facyson is on Michael Gallup, there's no doubt in my mind that Michael Gallup can't just burn him on one play. And he likes cover 3 too. So you have a safety back there, depending on who it is. You're still going to have a hard time. I think this defense is really going to struggle this game. It depends how the defense, if the defensive line shows up and if Brendan Facyson has an average game, which is, you can't count that from Facyson. So that's all I got for you guys in this one, but let's go through my score predictions real quick. So my score prediction, man, I really don't think this is going to be a very close game at all. Especially with Braden Smith and Kenny Moore, both crucial starters for this Colts team, are going to be out. Now Trayvon Diggs and Michael Gallup are both questionable. It'll be huge if Michael Gallup doesn't play. But then you have Tolbert, you have Turpin. I think Kayvon Turpin is that kick returner from the XFL. Is one guy who had a chance. It's just a good story from him. I suggest you go and look him up. Go look up the story. So my score prediction is going to be 31-10. 31-10. I don't even know if the Colts could score a touch on this game. If they get the run game going, I think they could score more. And if they could keep the defense off the field, maybe the defense could help them score less. But I don't think you could beat the Cowboys if you can't score more than 20 points, 24 points. You can't beat many teams if you can't score over 20 points. But the Cowboys, they're a very good offense, very balanced team. 31-10, my prediction. If things go right. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show. Give me your thoughts about this game in the comment section down below. Do you think the Colts have any chance? Or are they going to embarrass themselves on Sunday Night Football? That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on to miss any future videos. This is JDW Sports Talk Show. I'm signing off.